Index Universal Life. We're going to do a head-to-head comparison. Okay, this is an income comparison. What are we going to compare? We're going to compare non-qualified mutual funds, qualified plans, which 401k and IRA, those are probably two of the most popular plans in terms of investing for retirement. And we're going to compare that to the Index Universal Life. So this is a head-to-head comparison. We're going to see who's the heavyweight champion here. Okay, and we're going to compare after-tax income. So folks, you can't spend money that has to go to the IRS. So this is after-tax income. Let's go through this. So what information are we going to cover? We're going to compare the averages and index returns. So what are the returns? How does the IUL compare to the S&P 500 as an example? We're going to use a gross rate of return of 7%. And we're going to compare the tax equivalent contributions. So some of them get, you got on 401ks and stuff, you've got to deduct the contributions. With IULs and mutual funds, you don't. Finally, compare the after-tax income. Very, very important. Okay, so here we go, guys. We're going to compare American National here, their index. And you can see here we got a ceiling of 14% and a floor of 0. So what does that mean? That means when the S&P 500 is up, we're going to get a positive return, but we're going to seal that the ceiling is going to be 14%. So if we get a 27% return from the S&P 500, we're only going to get 14% from Anaco. And when it's negative, like here, these 3 years here, this is 2002, we got a negative 15%, and of course we got a 0% return. So all 3 years here, we got 0, 0, 0, and 0. But look at this. Average rate of return, 8.87. Now, what's the ceiling on the S&P 500? There's no ceiling. It can go, look, here we got 40% return here, and you only got 14% with Anaco. But there's also no floor. Look at this, 37% decline in 2008. So what was the average rate of return? 7.31%. So pound for pound, here we go. The Anaco index beat the S&P 500 over the last 20 years. How did it do over the last 10? Last 10, even better, 6.19 compared to 9.48%. So who's our target market for the IUL? It's anyone looking to save more for retirement, anyone exceeding the match on their qualified plan, in a high tax bracket, 30% or more, concerned about future tax rates. So if you're young and maybe you're not in a high tax bracket currently, but you think taxes could go up, guess what, guys? Taxes probably will go up. The government owes $18 trillion in federal debt right now, and they don't have any way of paying it. So also, you have to have at least 10 years until you need the money. So if you need to get at the money at the 5-year mark, this is really not a good plan for you. You should be planning on putting this money in an IUL for at least 10 years before you touch it. Okay, that's just the way it is. That way, there's money there for you to leverage. We're going to go over that here in a few minutes. So sample client assumptions: age, male, age 50, risk class, preferred non-smoker, income tax rate 35%, so they're in a high tax bracket. Gross rate of return 7%. By the way, you don't have to be in a high tax bracket to take advantage of this plan, but it does help. The higher your tax bracket, the more of this is going to be an advantage for you. Okay, a couple more things here. Non-qualified mutual funds, we're going to go over the advantages and disadvantages. First advantage, provides liquidity for retirement. You can take money anytime you want out of mutual funds. It doesn't matter. It's not an IRA or 401k. You can get access to it anytime. Have the ability to diversify your investment mix. In other words, you can invest in any mutual fund. No contribution limits. You can put as much money as you want in these things. Okay, that's a big advantage. No penalties for early withdrawal. You can take money out whenever you want. Potential drawbacks. You got to pay a lot of taxes ongoing with this. Okay, you got income and capital gains taxes that reduce your investment returns. Mutual funds purchased with after-tax dollars, which means you didn't get to deduct the money when it went in, and you have to pay income taxes on the earnings and short-term capital gains and long-term capital gains when the portfolio is turned over. Okay, so when you sell shares, you sometimes have to pay taxes on that, and it can really drag on your returns. So let's go over this. Okay, so we've got a couple of assumptions here. First off, that 7%. We're going to assume that it's a dividend rate of 2% and a capital growth rate of 5%. So this is really pretty conservative, but as you can see, you still got some growth here. You put in $50,000 a year. Now you might be saying $50,000 a year. Oh my gosh, that's a big amount. It is, but if you divide this number by 10, it's $5,000 a year. That's a lot more reasonable in terms of the IUL. That's what you want to put in. You want to put in a couple $100 a month into these guys. It's not something you can put $50 a month in. You need to have some money to set aside in order to take advantage of an IUL. So you need to have at least $100 or more to take advantage of this particular product. And if you're older, like over 40, it's probably more like $150, $250 a month. If you're a little bit older like me, I'm 41, and so I put about $350 a month into this particular plan. I plan on this next year here moving that to $500-$600 a month. Okay, so let's go over the numbers here. So at age 60, we got $653,000. Hey, that's fantastic. And then we stopped contributing here at age 60, so it keeps growing. And at age 65, we have $820,000. Now we need to take money out. And look, we're going to take out $55,830. But here's the kicker: you're only going to actually have $45,000 in income that you can use, because you got to pay 10 grand in taxes on the deal. Okay, so that's what I mean. There's tax costs in this investment, definitely. Okay, and you're going to be able to take $45,000 out basically for the rest of your life, okay, until the money runs out, which is scheduled to run out at age 100. Okay, so mutual funds, what could you take out of it? You can take $45,000 a year out of it. Let's go to the next one, qualified plans. By the way, this is the most popular retirement plan on the planet, right here, qualified plans, which for most people, that means a 401k or a traditional IRA. And when you go into retirement mode, folks, you got to remove that money into an IRA. It's very difficult to take income out of a 401k in this fashion. So they're not meant to do that. You need to have it in an IRA, and then you can start taking withdrawals. But here's the advantages: tax deductible contributions, no taxes on anything that gets contributed to this, and tax deferred growth. You have the ability to diversify your investment risk or investment risk. And company match. You should always take advantage of this up to the match. So if it's not an IRA, if it's 401k and it's sponsored by your employer and they match up to 5% of your contribution or your income, then you should contribute 5%. Guys, take advantage of it. Take that extra, that 5. Now, as far as I know, most of these companies aren't quite being that generous anymore. It's more like up to 3%, and we'll give you 1.5% of that. So, but still, you should still take advantage of whatever they do give you. Potential drawbacks: contribution limits, major. If you're a high income earner, you can only put so much money into these funds. Dollars removed from the plan must be paid back. Penalties for distributions prior to 59.5, and you must draw at 70.5. Because you must draw at 70.5, this is not a good estate planning tool. You're going to be pulling all the money out before you reach age 100. That's what's going to happen. Why? Because they want to tax you. Taxes, taxes, taxes. All withdrawals are subject to full income taxes, and believe me, that is going to affect how this plan operates. So let's go over this. Okay, so first off, you're going to notice your contributions are much higher. Why? Because you're not paying any taxes on the contribution. So $76,000 is going into the plan. Year 10, again, you stop. How much do you have in the plan? You have $1 million, okay? So quite a bit more than the mutual funds. Where are you at age 65? You're going to start pulling out $93,000. Now you're going to be excited about it. You're like, man, I'm pulling out $93,000. But hold up. What is the actual income that you get to bring home to yourself that doesn't go to the IRS? $60,000. So $33,000 has to be paid to Uncle Sam. And there's a couple other things this affects, guys. This is definitely going to affect your tax liability on your Social Security income. So if you're retired and you're over 66 years old and getting full Social Security, you are going to be taxed on your Social Security. Okay, I know there's a lot of people that think that you don't pay tax on Social Security. That is untrue. If you make bigger income, in fact, if you go over the threshold, we have a video on that, it does become taxable. Okay, so again, you can take out $60,000 until you run out of money, which we plotted out to age 100. Qualified plans, $60,000. Mutual funds, $45,000. So for pound, the qualified plan is definitely beating the mutual fund. I will say one thing though, again about Social Security. The mutual fund you paid, it was less of this money was taxable. Okay, quite a bit less of it is taxable as income. So what does that mean? That means that it's not affecting your Social Security income as much. So these would probably have a little bit smaller disparity if I included Social Security in this equation. So the last one we're going to compare is the Equity Index Universal Life, or the IUL. What are the advantages? First off, tax deferred accumulation. So just like the 401k or the IRA, you're not paying taxes on any of the growth inside of it once it's in there. Income tax free at retirement. This is a big one, guys. You can pull the money out completely tax-free. You borrow the money against the funds, and we've had another video where we show you how to leverage the money. No taxes on loans, okay? No limitations on contributions. You can contribute as much as you want as long as you qualify. Transfers without tax upon death, and what that means, the plan is self-completing, because if you die prior to retirement, it pays to your beneficiary. So your spouse is going to get the whole amount right up front so she can continue March with the retirement plan. Many policies also offer potential riders that provide protection in the event of disability. So in other words, even if you got disabled, the plan would still complete. That's a big deal. Cash removed from policy without age limitations. No age limitation. You take money out at 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, as long as it's in there at least 10 years, okay? Liquidity in with few limitations there. And policy value are creditor protected in most states, okay? So there's a lot of states where you can't get at the cash value even in bankruptcy. Major critical, chronic, and terminal illness riders. So a lot of benefit, a lot of ways that this is very secure. So if you got cancer or heart attack or you had a stroke or something like that, you could take money out. Sometimes up to 70, 80, 90% of the death benefit can come out before death, especially if you're older, like past retirement. You can take some major money out of these things. So let's go through this. Oh, and the cash can be leveraged from the policy, which we've gone over that in another video. Let's go over the potential drawbacks. You must medically qualify. Okay, so if you're in your 70s now, this is going to be very tough to do. Plus, if you're in your 70s, why are you doing this? Because you don't have enough years you have to have a long time horizon to build up cash value. You got to have at least 10 years. Okay, can be tough to qualify at older ages. Set up incorrectly, the client could get the short end of the stick. Here's the other thing, guys. This is a plan that needs to be set up correctly. So you should have a small death benefit and a large premium going into the policy, okay? So it needs to be what in the industry would call it target. It's got to be set above target. So you make sure that you have a qualified financial advisor. If you're going with Stoneway Financial, all of our agents know how to set these up correctly. Okay, so let's go through the ledger here. So first off, $50,000 a year going in, just like the mutual fund, right? Because it's not deductible. Then at the end of 60 here, we're at 582,000. At 65, we're at 805,000. So a little less than mutual funds. You were about 820, I think, on the mutual funds at 65. So you didn't quite beat that. But when we get to the income, this is going to be very interesting. So now we're going to turn around. We're going to start borrowing money from the policy. Look at this, guys. We're borrowing $88,000 from the policy. Now, why are we able to do that? First off, it's not as high as the qualified plan. Remember, you were able to take out $93,000. But in terms of taxation, this is $88,953 not taxed. And I'm going to go through that when I show you the actual illustration. But again, you're taking a much larger amount from the policy. Your net death benefits going down, but your internal rate of return actually goes up a little bit over time, and I'll go over that here as we go into the illustration. So let's slide over to the illustration. So Index Universal Life, $88,953, and I want to show you how that's even possible, how it's able to beat the qualified plan and the mutual fund. So let's go through that. Here is the actual illustration. Again, what's happening here is you're leveraging this money. That's the reason why it can handle such a large income. So here we have $850,000 in accumulation value. You took out $88,000. And look what happened to the cash value. It goes up. It's really weird. So it went from 857 to 914 to 974 to 1 million to 1.1 million. All the time you're taking money out. Why is that? Because it's leveraged against the policy. Now your surrender value, it does go down, okay? So just like mutual funds and the 401k, you eventually are going to run out of money and the plan will complete, okay? Or if you died, you're going to get the death benefit. But here's the thing. It can handle a much larger income because you'll notice here that right here at the 1.1 million mark here, we took out our 88,000, and yet the actual cash surrender value only went down about 40 grand, about half what you took out. Why is that? Because the interest on 1.1 million is pretty significant, and it grows. You get down to age 80, and now you're at interest of 2 million. Okay, so pretty significant. All right, that's what's able. That your interest rate, your 6.99 here, is against 2 million, not against 260,000. So it helps the plan float that income for longer, and it allows you to take out a larger income. Okay, let's keep going here. So what's next? You need to examine your current circumstances, identify your goals and objectives, Decide how much you can set aside, and then get in contact with one of our agents and have them run a specific illustration for you. Do that, and I'm telling you, you will be pleasantly surprised. Thank you.